Sarvaratna Samanvitam and the ladies. Somebody. Sarva Kama Dugam Divyam Sarvaratna Samamitam that's a difficult one. That's a difficult one. Almost. Try once more. Sayodarkam. Then? Sarva Drupa Sayodarkam Mani Samver Upaskritam Sarva, all karma, desires, Dugham, yielding, Divyam, wonderful, Sarvaratna, all sorts of jewels, Samanvitam, bedecked with, Sarva, all, Riddhi, all wealth, Upachaya, increase, Udarkam, greatly, Mani, of precious stones, Stambai, with pillars, Upashrikam, Upashkritam, adorned. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, it was a wonderful structure, bedecked with all sorts of jewels, adorned with pillars of precious stones and capable of yielding whatever one desires. It was equipped with every form of furniture and wealth which tended to increase in course of time. Purport. The castle created in the sky by Kadama Muni may be called a castle in the sky. But by his mystic power of yoga, Kadama Muni actually constructed a huge castle in the air. To our feeble imagination, a castle in the sky is an impossibility. But if we consider the matter, we can understand that it is not impossible at all. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead can create so many planets, carrying millions of castles in the air, a perfect yogi like Kadama Muni can easily construct one castle in the sky. Castle is described here as Sarva Kama Dukam, yielding whatever one desires. It was full of jewels. Even the pillars were made of pearls and valuable stones. These valuable stones were not subject to deterioration, but were everlasting and increasingly opulent. We sometimes hear of castles thus bedecked on the surface of the earth also. Castles constructed by Lord Krishna for his 16,108 wives were so bedecked with jewels, and there was no need of lamplight during the night. Chakshuramitam yena tasmai si gurave namaha si chaitanya manovishtam stapitamina bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swaparantikam si Krishna chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Liebe devotees, I speak in English, yeah? I'm happy to be here after a long time. I used to actually be here a long time ago. I used to run the place actually at one stage. And so I know the difficulties and I know the pleasures, the pains and the pleasures that you find everywhere. Wherever you go in the material world, you find this. There's pains and there's pleasure. I was in Vrindavan one time. It was 55 degrees in Schatten, in Vrindavan, in shade. And I bought a freezer, a huge freezer, and stick my head into the freezer every 10 minutes to freeze my brain because I was about to go crazy. And 55 degrees is just particular for European bodies, very hot. So when I came actually from India just last week, when I came out of the airport, the air was delicious. I took a big breath, it's beautiful, fresh air. After the heat and the dust and the noise of India, I felt like at home. You live in heaven. You just don't know it. So, so here you find this situation, that this Kadama Muni, he was a powerful yogi, and therefore he had huge mystic powers. You can see sometimes, even our experience. Take, for example, Jesus. He could walk over water. This is called Lagima city. He had that city. When his disciples were gathering in the room after his crucifixion and death, quote unquote, they were so afraid that they locked the door in this room, in the upper chamber. And all of a sudden he walked through the door. This is called Anima city. He was among them. That means he could walk through the wall. You know, the rooms there. In the same way, when he fed 5,000 people and 4,000 people at one stage, this is called Prapti city. That you are able to access another place and take it. Yogi can take a flower from another planet. These are all mystic powers. And great yogis have them, but also pure devotees have them. Jadurani Mataji used to say, not Jadurani, was it? Not Jadurani, it was not Malati. Who's there? Who was singing? Yamuna. Yamuna walked behind Prabhupada in the house, in the property of John Lennon. And it was a little muddy, and she was walking after Prabhupada, and she saw that Prabhupada didn't leave any footsteps. And this is not the first time. We have heard this from another devotee in New York also. There was also the kind of muddy weather, and she walked, and both boys looked back and said, I'm leaving. Prabhupada doesn't leave any footsteps. And there are many other examples. For example, when Prabhupada initiated here in Germany, he came to Germany, and so he was doing the initiations, and I stood right behind him. I saw that he took his beads. There was one devotee, his name was Maharati. And Marathi, before he came to the Krishna consciousness, was butcher. He was a butcher. He was a butcher. And so he came to Krishna consciousness, and he was very strong. And so Prabhupada gave him the beads, and then I saw Prabhupada took the beads back. After asking him the regulated, he said, you have to promise, he said, don't kill any animals anymore. And then he gave him the beads back. So the same happened actually in New York, similar, that Prabhupada, he could understand, you know, the person, what is behind all the makeup and the whatever it is, the facade. He could see that. You would see that. And Brahmananda was telling a story. And at one time, Brahmananda had some sort of growth in his heel, from the bone. The bone there was some growth. It grew. And so he couldn't walk in the Second Avenue Temple. And all the devotees went to this Mr., what was his name? Dr. Mishra. He had an ashram in upper state New York, which is very beautiful. It was a lake and everything. So the devotees went with Prabhupada to see this ashram, and Prabhupada would preach also. And he would argue with this Dr. Mishra like anything. I mean, they were as soon as there was an opportunity, because Dr. Mishra was a Mayavadi. And Prabhupada immediately started arguing with him in a friendly way. And so, in any case, so Brahmananda could not go. He stayed back. They all went in two cars. And then after some time, because he couldn't walk, after some time, the telephone rang, and Brahmananda had to go on his 4 legs into the next room to come to the telephone, and the telephone was up. He has to get up. And so he lifted up the telephone, and Prabhupada was on the phone. He said, Brahmananda, are you okay? He said, yes, I'm okay, Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada hanged up. Then Brahmananda, he walked back to the other room, and he realized that he could walk. From one moment to another, he could walk. And he said, I can walk. I can walk. And he was shocked that this happened in such an instant. And there are many little things where people could see Prabhupada's power and nature. You know, just like when he spoke to Professor Durkheim, who was a very famous Zen Buddhist, ambassador of Germany to Japan at one stage, who was hiding in a monastery when Hitler came to power because he was not in agreement. And Hirohito, the emperor of Japan, was also in cahoot in connection with Hitler. So he fled, and he learned Zen Buddhism and became a very famous Zen Buddhist because he brought Zen Buddhism to Western countries. So Prabhupada, he heard his philosophy. He asked him, Professor Durkheim, etc., glad to see you. What is your philosophy? And Durkheim explained. And it was well spoken from a Zen Buddhist point of view. I used to be Buddhist before. Not a Zen Buddhist, but I can understand Buddhist. There is some concept of something traveling from one body to another. They believe in reincarnation. What is that something? Anybody has an idea? It's not the soul, because in Buddhism there is no defined understanding of soul, as much as in Christianity or in Muslim religion or in Jewish religion. There is simply no defined concept of the soul. So they think the mind is traveling, which is also true. Yam yama peace malamba vama tirate antikalevaram. Wherever the mind is at the time of death, there you go. That's true. But Prabhupada explained to me, mind is just a subtle body, linga sarira. The soul is actually inhabiting this linga sarira. What to speak of the gross body that is carried in great pomp to the grave in Christian culture. I don't know what Muslims do, but in Jewish culture also. So he explained wonderfully. And then Durkheim, he asked Prabhupada so many questions. He was 2 years younger than Prabhupada. He was a gentleman, very intelligent. The way how he spoke was very intelligent. In fact, I asked him on the way from the Frankfurt Hauptbahnhof, I asked him a riddle. You know what a riddle is? A riddle is, you know, what, Yamaraj asks this riddle to Ulysses, or Yamaraj asks Ulysses, what walks on 4 legs in the beginning, on 2 legs in the middle, and on 3 legs in the end? What is that? Huh? Yes. Yes, as a young boy on 4 legs, adult, he walks on 2, and you see my cane over there. That's the 3rd leg that you acquire in due course of time. So that's called a riddle. And so I asked him this very complicated riddle, and nobody I met has solved this riddle, and I couldn't understand it either. I asked some GBCs at that time, nobody had a clue. He said, well, let me think, while we were driving. He said, give me 5 minutes. So 5 minutes ago, I said, I got it. And he solved the riddle. He was very intelligent man. He was a very super intelligent man, highly decorated by the German government with every decoration you can possibly get. Famous. And even in our temple in Wachenheimer Straße, the next one is Dürkheimstraße. That's him. That's a family, very old, aristocratic family. And his behavior was very aristocratic. You could see he's an aristocrat. And very humble at the same time. Not puffed up the least. So when Prabhupada was speaking, after some time, Durkheim said, Swamiji, what do you think of this? And Prabhupada smiled and said, oh, not very intelligent. Durkheim was in a shock, you know. That was the best of his knowledge and realization. And Prabhupada said, not very intelligent. And when Prabhupada, he said, why Swamiji? He was not angry. He said, why Swamiji? And Prabhupada explained to him very nicely, basically speaking, 4 things. You are not the body, you are a spirit soul, you're part of God, and your duty is to serve God. In these 4 things, the whole Krishna conscious movement is encapsulated. If everybody asked you at one time, you have a Sekundenzeiger on your Uhr? You have a second? Who has a watch that he can stop me?
I can stop you.
Stopwatch. Okay. This is how long it takes to explain the whole Krishna conscious philosophy. I'm not the body, I'm spirit soul, I'm part of God, your duty is to serve God. Bas. How much is that?
5 seconds, 11 milliseconds.
5 seconds. Krishna consciousness in 5 seconds. And for this man, it was something completely new, because there is no concept of God in Buddhism. There isn't, you know. And so he listened to Prabhupada, and the next days, I mean, he was so happy to meet Prabhupada, and they were discussing. He had so many questions, this man, you know, nice questions. And so Prabhupada, if you read the conversation, I in fact read today some of it, it's so awesome how Prabhupada explains the difference between the body and the soul. These 4 things he repeated a couple of times. And so at the end of this big famous man in front of all these boys and girls in your age, he got up and he paid his obeisances to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was sitting on his asana, you know, and grabbed Prabhupada's foot. You know, and he looked up to Prabhupada and he said, please accept me as your younger brother. There was one, you see, this man had class. You know, he was the head of a huge Zen Buddhist institute in the Bavarian forest. Has always 20, 30, 50 people around him, and he completely flattened down in front of Prabhupada. And then this also is important. On the way to the airport, I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about Durkheim and Prabhupada here. I'm just, you know, part of this, what I heard. He said to me, Prithu, he said, I have met many swamis, many gurus, many mahants in India, many babas. I met the Pope. I met just about everybody and anybody who is something in the religious, spiritual sphere. He said, but I've never met a person like your spiritual master. He said, Bhaktivedanta Swami is on the other, er hat gesagt, is durch. That means he's on the other side. He realizes that he's durch, you know, is durch, you know. And he said, it's definitely the greatest day of my life. I thank you so much that you organized this. So you can see how Prabhupada was such an amazing person that he could move the heart of such a great personality. The knowledge is so deep. One of the persons Prabhupada wanted to see was actually Heidegger, Martin Heidegger. Martin Heidegger is probably the biggest philosopher of the 20th century. Shamashunda came particularly to Germany before he joined the movement to study Heidegger. Sein und Zeit, Being and Time is his famous book. And so Prabhupada, Shamashunda called, you got to see him. Prabhupada wants to see this Heidegger. So I went there, down there to the Bavarian forest, 5 hours, to Totmus Rütte, that's the name of the place. So to see this Heidegger. And when I came to the door, I was in a dhoti and kurta and tilak and everything, the door opened. So, oh my God, who are you? And I said, relax, you know, I'm a monk in an Indian tradition. And my spiritual authority would like to talk to your husband. And she said, it's too late. I said, well, is he gone? He said, no, he's not, he's upstairs, but he cannot understand anything anymore. So I said to him, well, then I can see him, he can't complain, isn't it? And she laughed when I said that. He said, you're right, he can't complain, let's go upstairs. And so I went upstairs, and there he was, this giant, this tower of knowledge and philosophy. I mean, he is somebody very big in that field. And he was lying in bed, like hands up there, and he was completely lying there, no motion. And I said to him, his wife was at the feet. I said to him, Professor Professor Heidegger, no motion. Professor Heidegger, can you hear me? No motion. I took the Bhagavad Gita that I brought, you know, and touched his hand. I touched like this, knocked at his hand and said, Professor Heidegger. He grabbed the book like that, Immediately he grabbed the book, because that he could relate to that. And he opened his eyes and said, Bhagavad Gita, I know this book, I know this book. And he pressed it to his heart. And then he fell back into his slumber. His wife said, how did you do that? I have not seen him since 2 years like that. How did you do that? The power of Bhagavad Gita, the power of Srila Prabhupada, to wake up this man. It was Prabhupada's desire, and the desire was fulfilled, and he woke up from this slumber. He was senile, completely gone. So you see, the miracles Prabhupada can do, and we are just his servants. The miracles he did. I mean, one day they had no money in London, and the devotees were on the street. Prabhupada told them to go to London, and they were living in very poor circumstances. And Shamasuna said, let's go out and chant the names of God. We have nothing else to gain. And so they walked out, and all of a sudden there was a wind, and there was pounds and pounds coming down the street. Notes, pound notes, and they collected. And they had exactly the $3,000 they needed, pound, for the flat. It is a miracle. Prabhupada can do these sort of things, There's another time, some other time they had no money and they were praying to Prabhupada and somebody gave a donation. When they opened the thing, it was exactly the money they needed for the next rent. You see, there was some extraordinary dimension to Srila Prabhupada that touched everybody, that came into contact with Prabhupada on a very deep level, on the level of the soul. And Prabhupada spoke to the soul. And that soul woke up, like in the case of Durkheim, Durkheim also. He had this power. It's a mystic power. And so this Kadama Muni, he's able to and Prabhupada could, there was this guy who said, Prabhupada, Swamiji, Indian man, Swamiji, can you read my hand? Prabhupada said, yes, show me your hand. So then Prabhupada looked at that and said, he said, all bad. Swamiji, what you're saying, what is it? He said, I see clearly in your hands birth, old age, disease, and death. But if you go in front of the deity and you clap your hands, your lines will change. It was so elegant, your lines will change. Prabhupada was amazing. I've seen moments in my personal experience that he was so deep, and so powerful that he could understand, I could now go into Prabhupada's set issue from my experiences. But we want to talk about this Muni, this Maitreya Muni. Not Maitreya Muni, Kadama Muni. So all the mystic powers in the world by the end of the day won't help us to go back to Godhead, Because take Sauravi, was it? No, Saubhari Muni. Saubhari Muni. If you stand at Keshigat in Vrindavan and you go upstream for about a mile, then you see there in the back on the other Yamuna side, on the other side of Yamuna, there's a little hill, and there's a flag on it. That is the place of this Saubhari Muni. That's where they lived, and where he stayed underwater for 10,000 years. For 10,000 years was his tapasya. You can go there. You go from the temple Parikram path. There's a Bhaktivedanta hospital here, and then the Parikram path makes a sharp bend to the right, 90 degree, right? You know this place? When you go left, you come to this village, beautiful, it's in the countryside, very peaceful. And then you ask him where's the temple, and you go in there, and there he sits, Saubhari Muni with a long beard, and they're worshipping him, the devotees there. So, because he was a great yogi, a great mystic. But, now comes the point, that when he saw two fishes copulating in water, having sex, he became agitated. after 10,000 years of meditation in complete seclusion. And think about it, 10,000 years underwater. Who can do such a thing? And so he became agitated by sexual desires. Now, here's the difference between Krishna consciousness, the consciousness of a devotee, pure devotee, and the consciousness of a mystic yogi. Because although he had all mystic perfection, the seeds of the desires were still in his heart, the seeds. The seeds. And the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, my dear devotees, I want to read you a verse which makes this very, very clear. Oops. And that is, Kama diyas tvayi rachita na parama rohanti yata karamba bijani jananat mani aguna maye. And then, Guna ganatosva dantva janati. The verse is, O Supreme Lord, if persons obsessed with material desire for sense gratification, and I think we all have a part of that obsession. It is there. You go into the kitchen at home, late at night, and all of a sudden, the senses smell. You translate this in your mind, pizza. You open the fridge, and there it is. The eyes see it. It's first the nose, then the eyes. Then the senses want it. Say, come on, take a piece. Intelligence, they don't do that. You have to go to the university tomorrow. You won't be able to sleep up. Come on, don't be so harsh on yourself, Prithu. Take it easy, take it as it comes. Take it easy, baby, take it as it comes. Just a little piece. Yes, the mind said, yes, 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 just a little piece. Just a little piece. The senses said, yes, let's enjoy. And intelligence goes, no, I have to go to university. Come on, come on. Okay. And then you eat. Because the senses and the mind are always together. And the intelligence is the only power to control the mind and the senses. Senses are like thieves. If we want to achieve something in the material world, whether it is spiritual or material, even material, if you want to win that 10,000 meter marathon, while you're training, the body is telling you, the senses, oh, come on, let's go home. We went already 20 times around the circle. Mind is saying, yeah, I feel terrible. Let's go home. Come on, Prithu. Intelligence said, no, you want to win the Olympics. And therefore, he is controlling the mind and the senses. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, senses are higher than, although they're matter, senses are matter, they're higher than dead matter. I can see with my eyes, which are material senses, the harmonium cannot see me, right? So the senses are also matter, but they are higher, they're animated by the soul. Mind is even higher than the senses. Then, he says in Bhagavad Gita, higher that is intelligence. And then the soul is even higher. Therefore, we have to control the lower self by the higher self. That's the verse in Bhagavad Gita, you know. You can see this, how once you understand who the thieves are that take your time away, your precious time, when you want to chant. Immediately when you want to chant, especially when you want to chant. First thing that comes into your mind, Facebook. And you find yourself after 2 minutes, 3 minutes, right? And you say, my God, I want to Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Rama, Rama, Rama. You go back to chanting. And then something else comes, some other idea. It's Maya knocking at our door in terms of mind and senses, you see, and it requires intelligence. It requires intelligence to subdue the mind and the senses. And that intelligence is being given to us by Krishna. Tesha satatam yuktanam vajratam pritipurvakam. Those who worship me in love, pritipurvakam, in love. Dadami buddhi yogam. I give them the intelligence. That buddhi has to come from Krishna, by which he will come to me. Very clearly expressed. The intelligence is given by Krishna to perform devotion service. Senses and mind are always dragging us from one situation. We are here in this material world since time immemorial. Birth after birth, always under the control of the mind and the senses. And the mind and the senses are very difficult to overcome, like Arjuna said in Bhagavad Gita. Very difficult. They're like horses or wind, difficult to control. But we can, not by our own endeavor alone. We have to do our best, then Krishna will do the rest. This is how that works. There's a cooperation there on that level. We have to struggle. We have to. And then Krishna will help us. If we don't struggle, there's a letter of Prabhupada Satguru Maharaj when he was temple president in, Boston. They had very little money. It was in the beginning. And so what they did is they said, let Krishna take care of us. So they took all the money they had, not much, a couple hundred. Hare Krishna. Good morning. The temple president works very hard. It's understandable that sometimes he has to sleep. But not in class. Krishna. So they took all the money they had and decorated the altar very beautifully. And they sent this photo to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada called them back on the phone. He said, "Oh, you have so much money that you can decorate the temple, the altar so gorgeously." And he said, "So we don't, Srila Prabhupada." Prabhupada said, "Then?" This is how Prabhupada would talk. Then? He said, "Well, we depend on Krishna." What do you mean with that? Well, Krishna, we have no money, we depend on Krishna, Krishna must feed us. And then Prabhupada said, the idea to depend on Krishna is very nice, but you have to do the work, and then Krishna will help you. We have to do our part, and then Krishna will help. It's like this most famous picture of God the Father with a long beard in the Sistine Chapel in Rome. Everybody knows that. And God stretches out his hand. And God is sitting in some sort of a shell, and he's surrounded by all these little boys who have been identified by now by the boyfriends of Michelangelo. He internalized his boyfriends on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. And he's holding on his hand like this. And Adam is holding like this. It should not be like this. If you want to connect with God, we have to grab, really. And then Krishna will take us. We have to stretch. Without the stretch, it's not possible. But not so much. It's not expected from us that we have, with our own strength, we're going back to God. It's not going to happen. We have to do our best. Satchidananda Swami coins this sentence. We have to do our best, and Krishna will do the rest. This is how that works. Very simple. Once you understand the technology. It's a technology, spiritual technology. So in any case, coming back to this yogi, he had all kinds of mystic perfections, but one thing, the desires were still there in seed form. You see, if you look at this, there's our Dhanura Swami. He one time made a graphic display, and that is that in the beginning there's ignorance. When we are here in the material world, from there, desires spring, because we see things. Adam and Eve were naked in paradise, as it says in the Bible. They never existed, really. It's you and me. We fell from the spiritual world. So God told them in the Old Testament, don't eat from this tree, it's forbidden tree. Then the snake came. And she said, if you eat from this tree, you become God. And that's why we are here, precisely. Even in the material world, everybody has this God project. Even if you're just the head of a rabbit breeding society, that's your God project. You put your whole life into that, whatever it is, whatever nonsense it may be. We're trying to be God, independent, And so from there, bijam. Then from there, once there desires, then papam, sin, comes. First there's feeling, and then there's willing. And then it's actually acting. So then from there, come two reactions, or come one reaction that is aparaja, that is unmanifested reactions. If we sin, in due course of time, these are seeds, they will sprout. They will sprout. And the other thing is that they will manifest and then turn into suffering ultimately. And then the wheel goes further than this. Kutam, that means further desire. Like if you eat pizza, why do you like pizza, Mataji? Because you have eaten pizza before, right? First, we have an experience of it. Then not only satisfy we ourselves at this moment, and we eat like a horse when the pizza comes on the table, on the farm or wherever, all over the world. Our Gunagrai Swami, he was the most expert pizza cooker in the world. He wrote a book, the Pizza Purana. Two books. One is the Pizza Purana, how to make good pizza. And the other one is Pizza Samhita, the glorification of pizza. But anyway, we have to have this experience first. Then we do it again. A boy has no idea of sex unless he has an experience. Then he wants it again and again. Satisfaction is there, and this creates the desire for further action. And from there, sinful activity comes. And from sinful activities, there are reactions. And then there's seeds that in due course of time sprout. And then there's a desire for more and more and more and more. And this way we entangle in the material world. This is how that works. So, the verse is very interesting that I wanted to read. That, O Supreme Lord, if a person may be obsessed with material desires for sense gratification, through material opulence, if he worships you, now comes the point, very important. If he worships you, they are not subject to material rebirth. Why? And he explains here in this verse, as much as fried seeds. If you take a seed, you know you have planted many seeds, right? They sprout. But if you take the same seeds and you fry them in ghee, they can't sprout anymore. So the process of chanting not only destroys the reactions of my whatever I've done. All the way, I mean, the descriptions are very blatant in Bhagavatam. There's one verse, even if somebody sleeps with the wife of a guru, still, it doesn't mean anything if he starts chanting the holy name. The reactions will be destroyed. And not only that, the sinful desires to do it again will be destroyed. And that is the problem with Kadama Muni, because he did not chant. His tapasya was external. You see? Now, one thing we have to know, at that time, I don't blame him, because, you see, originally, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra was not easily achieved. You know, there's one verse. In fact, coming to think about it, I asked Prabhupada personally this question. I said, Srila Prabhupada, I'm translating Bhagavad Gita into German together with Sachinandan Maharaj and Bhakti Gauravani Maharaj, we three. I said, I found a verse where it says that one who chants the holy name of Krishna has taken bath in all the holy rivers of India and has seen all the holy places of India. I said, is it a fact? Have I been in my last life in India? And Prabhupada smiled at me. And he said, well, actually, you should understand one thing, that I created your good fortune. And that's a great thing to hear, personally. You know, I created you. How do you feel? Your guru tells you, I created your good fortune. I was overjoyed. But then I thought later about it. You see, it is true that if you want to come to the chanting of Hare Krishna, according to Bhagavatam, you have to go to all the holy places of pilgrimage, etc. Right? But since Lord Chaitanya arrived, Bhagavatam, remember, that's 5,000 years ago, Lord Chaitanya changed the whole equation. He broke open the doors of love of God. And therefore, that specific mercy is available immediately to everybody who chants. Everybody. But people don't take it. They don't take it. Some do, fortunate souls, like you and me, we take it, but not all. I remember yesterday I talked about it at Guru Gauranga Prabhu, godbrother of mine, who was in charge for Switzerland. Recently we had a reunion there. Niranjan Swami was there, he was there, and a whole bunch of old godbrothers in Switzerland, and we applied for Harinam in the street. And the man in Geneva said in French, I can speak a little bit, he said, yes, you can sing. No problem. But Hare Krishna, 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 Hare, you cannot sing this. They're so averse to the chanting of the holy name. Bhaktisiddhanta used to say that we fell like Sternschnuppen, like shooting stars. We fell from the spiritual world. Why? Because of aversion to Krishna, becoming averse to Krishna. That's the disease. Envy, ultimately. If you eat from this tree, then you become God. And so interesting if you look at that story. Then Eve, she couldn't resist. Adam was more rational. But she was, when he heard that, she took the apple and ate. And then she became immediately agitated. And then Adam, he never saw his wife as a material object. You know, he fell from dharma to adharma. That's why he's called Adam. Adharma. You know, he was dharmic. Like Shukadeva Goswami, they were living he was naked. And he didn't find any wrong with it. So in the same way, they were naked because they're sadhus. But they fell from dharma to adharma, and his name became Adam. Even you can understand. So we fell like shooting stars from the world. And so now we have many desires. And what shall we do in this desire? What shall we do? I'm out of time? No. So what shall we do in this situation? There's a verse. Visha vinivatati nirarasya dina rasava jamra soprasya paramdrishvanivatati. The soul may be refrained from sense gratification, but the desire remains. There you have it. The desire remains. However, if one gives up such desire by experiencing a higher taste, there you have it. By experiencing a higher taste, one becomes situated in God consciousness. So we need that higher taste, you know. So now, we may have to, like it says here very clearly, what is it? That, let me see. O Supreme Lord, if a person is obsessed with material desire for sense gratification, that's you and me. That's us. Still, if he worships you, they're not subjected to material rebirth as much as seeds when fried in ghee cannot sprout. The chanting destroys all the reactions, we know that. You read in Shikshastaka. And at the same time, the seeds are destroyed. And this is the unfortunate thing with Kadama Muni, Sobari Muni, that he didn't appear later at the time of Lord Chaitanya. Then he could have stayed in water chanting Hare Krishna as long as he wanted. And no fishes would agitate him. You know, no fishes would agitate him. It burns. We are what we are. Prabhupada told us one time, you come as you are. He said, come as you are and chant. You know, because it is very, although we may not be able from one moment to another to stop our activities, I can honestly say from the beginning of my Krishna consciousness to now, is a difference there. I can now do what I was not able to do when I joined the Hare Krishna movement. It is a natural process that while you're going on, you may have still some habits. You know, then still if you continue on this path, if he's rightly situated, there's this verse. What is this verse? A yogi, if he's rightly situated, that, what is that verse? In his next life. If he's rightly situated, it means if he is trying to become Krishna conscious, even just a little bit, in due course of time, it's like when if you have a tree, you cut the roots, you know, the tree will fall. It looks like the same tree like before, but it isn't, because there's somebody cutting the roots. And that's what the Hare Krishna mantra does. It cuts the roots. We cannot fight against the roots, but we can chant. And then you hear the chainsaw starts. Like if somebody is cutting on your chair, you know, and sooner or later you fall. This is something I experienced many times being a temple president in ISKCON. There's always somebody cutting on your chair. In any position, maybe at GBC, I went through that. There's always somebody cutting. It's a material world, right? So in the same way, if we just take this process seriously and chant, you know, then everything will come out in due course of time. There is no other solution, Prabhu. There is no other hope even in this world than chanting Hare Krishna, the holy name. Because the holy name can do what nobody else and nothing else can do. Kalaya Doshanidhi Rajan, O King, this ocean, the world is an ocean of, in Kali Yuga, of darkness. Asti eva Mahaguna, but it's one good quality. Kirtanat eva Krishnasya. Chant the holy name, Mukta Bandha, you become free from Mukti, means freedom, Mukta Bandha, Parambrajat, and achieves the supreme destination. So hold on to this. Hold on to this. That's my advice. It may be difficult at times, and I went through hellish times. In fact, I could write a book about my history in ISKCON in my own blood of difficult situations I've seen. You know, but we have to hang on there, you know. Don't let it go. Just keep on hanging and keep on chanting and keep on serving Krishna. That's the only way out of here. That's the only way out of here. Holy name is very... Therefore, in fact, I just had it on my computer. The most valuable thing in our life is the holy name. The holy name is the most valuable of all things. Lord Chaitanya said that. You know, there's nothing more powerful than the holy name. And I will read to you something in this regard. Since we are there, one moment. Here it is. No, there it is. The Puranas say that anyone who chants the holy names, whether with faith or neglect, even in a neglectful way, even that, he attracts the mercy of Lord Krishna. And that's the most important thing, to attract that mercy. Because on our own, we can't. Look, Arjuna, he fought with millions of people. And he could do it because he was full of Krishna Shakti. Then later he was caught by some cowboys. Insignificant people arrested him, and he said, this is the same boy, Gandiva, this is the same Arjuna, how is it possible? Because the Lord's mercy has left me. The Lord's mercy has left me. You see, the mercy, there is one statement of Haridas Thakur, who said, no one in this world is able to chant without distraction. He said, no one. Such victory, he says, is only possible by the mercy of Krishna. Therefore, we have to pray for his grace. There you have that principle that we have to do our best. Like Prabhupada was asked by one devotee on a morning walk, he said, Srila Prabhupada, can you save me? Prabhupada says, yes, he said, I can, but you have to do the work. You see, such a simple thing, Prabhupada said, yes, I can. And he said, if you don't read my books, if you don't, what can I do for you? It's very clear in my mind that Prabhupada said this on the morning, because you don't chant if you don't read. What can I do for you? You know? We inviting Krishna in our life, and we chant, and when we read Prabhupada's books. And yesterday I told one devotee this powerful experience of my godbrother and Chandramoli Maharaj, that he's chanting every day, he's reading every day, 2 hours, 3 hours, even 4 hours, he's sannyasi. So I heard through the grapevine that he had an experience, so I wrote a letter. Is that really true? What was it? Can you tell me? He said, yes. He said, I was reading Prabhupada's books, like always in the afternoon. All of a sudden, the room lit up. The room lit up like you turn a dimmer on, you know. The room became light. And then I read a sentence, and then Prabhupada's voice came in and kept reading for 10 minutes. This happened just 2 years, 3 years ago. Prabhupada's voice, Prabhupada started to take over the reading because he told us that he's in these books. But what helps us is association. We may be miserable and fools and so many things, but that association with Prabhupada, hearing Prabhupada, chanting, associating with Krishna, that's what actually saves us, association. Prabhupada gives the example, if you put the fire, the iron rod into fire, it becomes red hot automatically. There's nothing to do else but associate it. The power of association is huge. That's why we associate with devotees. You know, because we become devotees if we associate with devotees. As simple as that. And so, he says here, even in neglect we attract the mercy of Krishna. The holy name is the purest form of knowledge. It is the best of all vratas or vows, the highest meditation. It gives the most auspicious fruits. It is the greatest renunciation. It gives incomparable peace. It is the most pious of all holy works. It is the supreme path of self-realization, the greatest way to liberation and goal is the topmost destination. It is the best devotion and service. It is the purest inclination. It gives love of Godhead and is the essence of all remembrance of the Lord. It is the cause of all causes. Oops. How do we do this? Second. He is the supreme truth. It is the most worshipable object and acts as the supreme. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Wonderful. We have to hear this again and again, that the holy name, I can read you another one which is very beautiful. Here. That the holy name is our greatest treasure. Consequently, japa is the most important activity of the day. When will I want only Krishna and nothing else? Because now we want so many this and that, this and that, you know. Then he says, chanting Krishna's holy name is the topmost activity in the entire universe. Indeed, in the whole, listen to this one, Haridas Thakur said, chanting Krishna's holy name is the topmost activity in the entire universe. Indeed, in the whole universe there are only two meanings. You, the jiva, and the holy name. Everything else is deceptive, is illusion, basically speaking. Now, if you realize that there's only two realities, that there's only Krishna in his holy name and myself, the more you think about it, the less you're bothered by material this and that. It doesn't matter, even if you're in trouble, it doesn't matter anymore if you come to this realization that nothing matters except my relationship with Krishna. People may praise you, people may defame you, people may steal from you, whatever. They may take everything you have, but the one thing nobody can take, and that's the holy name. Nobody can take this away from you, no matter how difficult your life may be in Krishna consciousness. Then, the holy name is a beautiful touchstone. He is the supreme goal. There's nothing higher than the holy name. I therefore worship the holy name. Chant the holy name, leave all things aside. Give it all you got. And then the prayer is, O Shri Shri Radha Govinda, please be merciful to me. Please bless me that I can chant your holy name without distraction. This is a blessing to be able to do that. Bless me to do that. Then, Patita Pavana Nama Nishtarayana Radhamam Radha Krishna Swarupaya Chaitanya Namo Namaha. The holy name is the savior of all fallen. O Harinam, please deliver this lowest of men. See, we are delivered by the holy name. This lowest of men, we should be in this consciousness, you know, that I'm, who am I? You know, we are just, you know, trying to become Krishna conscious. We are just simple bhaktas. And we are trying to become Krishna consciousness. So The holy name is the Savior of the most fallen, O Harinam, please deliver the slowest man. Obeisance again to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and unto Sri Radha Govinda. And you see, we have to pray for that. And I give you one more. I can't resist to do that. Where it says, where is this chant? 1 second. Chant. Anyway. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. When you're chanting, your mind is wandering all over the universe when you chant. Can you agree with that? Whose mind is walking all over the universe when he's chanting? See, look around. You're not alone. You know, there's plenty of brahmacharis, plenty of ladies. Mind walks all over the universe. Then he says, chant anyway. Your mind is wandering to the past and to the future when you chant. Right? Chant anyway. You're not able to concentrate on Krishna's names while you chant. Chant anyway. You have no taste for chanting. Chant anyway. You have material desires. Chant anyway. You're making offenses in chanting. Chant anyway. Then he says, you're not praying to Krishna to help you to chant better. That's the key. You see, that's the point. That we have to ask Krishna, please, my chanting is not good. I travel all over the universe. Unless you help me, then what is my future? So we have to appeal to the mercy of Krishna. It's the most important ingredient. You know, that you chant often, you often chant late at night. Chant anyway. This happens to me also sometimes. Chant at night, you know, because in the morning you're so busy. And so coming to think about it, there was a discussion in the Sri Sampradaya in the 17th century. Sages of this Sampradaya came together and said, what is actually saving us? Is the mercy of God like a mother cat who picks up the kitten? So the kitten doesn't have to do anything, right? Kitten, little cat, the mother takes it by the neck and carries it from one place to another. Is that the mercy, that God is like that? Or is God's mercy, is he relating to us like a monkey? Monkey you see in Vrindavan, you know, he holds on to the mother, and the mother carries him, right? So the monkey does something, he does his best, then the mother monkey does the rest. That was the conclusion. That is our conclusion. The monkey has to hold on. I saw with my own eyes, there was one little dog puppy, and one monkey lady became attracted to him and tried to accept him. But she couldn't carry him because he didn't know how to hold on to her. And so ultimately the puppy was abandoned. It was running in the street without a mother. So she felt compassion. Like women feel compassion when they see that. And she tried to knead him, and she tried to jump and put him into the breast, and he couldn't hold. Ultimately, he died. You see, that's the thing that very clearly that we have to hold on to Krishna like a little monkey is holding on to his mother. And then he can jump from one tree to the other because the mother is jumping. He's just holding on. He can go over impossible difficulties. No? Laymen can cross over mountains. What was it? Dumb men can become a great speaker. And then a blind man can see the stars in the sky by the mercy of Krishna. Jai. Any time left? Hare Krishna. Do you have any questions? I mean, this Krishna conscious philosophy is ecstatic. If you really get into it, think about it, hear about it, and put it into practice, it is very, very ecstatic. It's very beautiful. You know, it's just amazing. People have no clue. They go to church. What do they know? What do they know, actually, you know, about God? What is the concept of an old man who's coming out of the clouds and holding on to Adam or something? some man with a beard who's, I saw what you just did there, keeping notes, I will come back to you later. I don't forget you. This is not God. This is Yamaraja's business. Our Krishna manifests in his form as Karana Dakasha Vishnu. Trillions of universes, not just 10, 20, 100 million or whatever, trillions of universes. Everyone bigger than these ones at every second. Think about that. With every breath. What do the scientists know? They have this huge contraption in Switzerland, the CERN, the particle accelerator. Where they're accelerating particles, atomic particles, in high speed with the help of magnets, faster and faster and faster. And then there's a junction. Half of them keep on going, the other they put some slot there. So these particles, they travel this, and then they jam into the others, head-on collusion. And they're trying to, have an experiment of the Big Bang. There's an explosion in the beginning. This is how they do that. And every scientist has a different conclusion. Some said, don't do that, you will have a black hole that will devour the whole planet. Many scientists warned of this experience. They say, you may kill the whole planet. And others say, well, let's try out, let's see what happens. It's just foolishness, Well, let's see, like children. You stick your needle into a plug, and then you wonder that you get electrified. So they did it, and we survived. But they will never, then they came to the conclusion recently in their particle research that there is a God particle. They call it a God particle, something we cannot understand. They will never be able to understand Krishna because the Big Bang, the origin of the Big Bang is Krishna. It's the Garbhodakasha Vishnu. They never, only by undivided devotion can I be understood as I am standing before you, Krishna says. They don't have that. Impious people, Krishna is not accessible to impious minds. Nam Prakasha Sravasya Yoga Maya Samavita Mudo Yam Navijanati, fools can never see me. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. They're fools, maybe big professors, but they have no deep understanding of Krishna. We can never catch Krishna like that. Mother Yashoda tried to bind Krishna, and the rope was always a little bit too short. So they may run after the Big Bang, after different conclusions, new theories, and so many things. Ultimately, they will be confused to what to believe. They will just become more and more confused. Because you cannot catch Krishna like this. Only by love. Nam premanjana churita bhaktilochanena. This is the verse. Premanjana churita bhaktilochanena santak sadeva Yeshu vilokayanti. If the eyes are anointed with the ointment of love, then yamashama shundaram achinta guna swarupam. The form of Krishna is achintya, inconceivable. It becomes available to somebody whose eyes are anointed with the ointment of love. That's why they can't understand, because they have no love for Krishna. It's just a bunch of meat-eating rascals who try to den heißen Brei herumzulaufen. We take the Brei, because we know that's the essence of life. But they run like cats running around. They never come to a conclusion. And ultimately they run like little hamsters in a wheel, from one life to the next. And a hamster is working very hard. I'm getting there, I'm getting there, I'm getting there. But we know, this higher knowledge, that he's just in a wheel. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, go Premananda. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. And now we have to take prasadam. Sorry that we did that.